The Common Sense Conservatives are led by Pierre Poilievre, the next Prime Minister of Canada. And here's your chance to meet the rest of the Common Sense Conservatives who will restore the promise of Canada by axing the tax, building the homes, fixing the budget, and stopping the crime. So today on Meet the Common Sense Conservatives, we have our Shadow Minister for National Defence, James Bazan. And so, James, let's start with your file with national defence. I mean, obviously, the Liberal government has made all these promises well into the future with their defence policy update. Tell us a little bit about that, and a little bit about what a Conservative government would do for our military.
What I said originally about their first defence policy, SSE, that was a book of empty promises. And so now they've done the defence policy update, which is over 12 months late from when they said they're first going to release it. What we actually have now is some thoughts about the threat environment that we're actually facing. But if you actually look at the promises that they're making in here, most of it is all backloaded. Like, for example, they realize that military housing is in dire need of replacement and repair. Bill Blair has even said we're 6,700 housing units short for our Canadian Armed Forces. We hear the stories of the guys that are living unsheltered, unhoused, like they're living in their cars, they're living in tents, they're living in campers, or they're living in dilapidated, mold-ridden barrack units across this country, and it's especially bad in Vancouver and in Halifax. And so families are being forced to, military families, being forced to use food bags. And so he says, we need to build more houses. We need 6,700. We know that from the number of people that are on waiting lists waiting to get military homes. And there's absolutely no dollars in the budget this year or next year to build any new military housing units. In fact, they've only built 38 homes in the last 2 years. And so how is this even getting to the basis of being there to support our troops? If you've got a recruitment and retention problem, part of it is housing, the way you treat your troops. And the brave women and men who serve this country can't even get a decent home when they serve in the Canadian Armed Forces because these Liberals just don't care.
Veterans Affairs, same thing. Veterans, the way they're treated by this government is absolutely appalling. And when people see that, they see people who serve this country, and then that's the way they're treated. Why would anyone want to join the armed forces? And that's a sad situation because that's a very proud thing that we want more Canadians to be a part of.
Yeah, so we need to make sure that we're there to support them, and we got to give them the salaries they need, the housing that they require, and the new kit. And so the Defense Policy Update does talk about replacing some of our aircraft and some of our ships, and even talk about submarines. But 19 times the book talks about, the Liberals say, we're going to explore. They say it so many times it almost sounds like they're going on a hiking trip, right? They're exploring this and exploring that, but everything is backloaded. It's going to be the next government that's going to have to deal with it. The Liberals aren't doing it because they've broken the budget. We have to fix it,
and we're of course going to do just that. And it's going to be great for the country. You're great for families across this country, but also means a new age for our Canadian Armed Forces.
National security guarantees us economic prosperity. And economic prosperity hardens national security. That includes national defense. That includes our intelligence agency, the RCMP. So we have to make sure that we can make those investments, and that only happens when we make sure that we have a strong economy and a balanced budget.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, James, you're also very proud of your Ukrainian heritage.
Very much so.
And I know you got your Vyshyvanka on today. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us why it's important.
I'm half Ukrainian, very proud of my Ukrainian heritage, but very much a Canadian patriot, and proud to serve in the House of Commons as a member of Parliament. But on Vyshyvanka Day, which is the third Thursday of every May, everybody for over the last 9 years since the war actually broke out in Ukraine when Russia invaded Donbass and annexed Crimea. A bunch of students in Chernivtsi, a city in southwestern Ukraine, actually where my grandparents came from Chernivtsi Oblast. But a bunch of university kids there, we're all very proud of our embroidered shirts that we have as Ukrainians, and every embroidered shirt pretty much represents the regions that you're from and the families that you represent in the Ukrainian community. And now Vyshyvanka Day, you put on your Vyshyvanka, and it's about wearing your heritage and showing it off. but this is also about standing in solidarity with the brave Ukrainians who are standing on the front line fighting against the Russian invaders. They are fighting for democracy, their freedom, but in reality, they're actually the front line fighting to protect all of NATO right now. And we have to continue to be there with Ukraine so that they can stop this invasion and ultimately force Putin and his barbarians back to Moscow.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it any better, James. And thank you so much for doing this. You know, Pierre Poilievre and the Common Sense Conservatives, we've got a big job ahead of us, but with guys like James on the team, we're going to get the job done. We're going to bring it home.
Thanks.
Common Sense Conservatives will continue to hold Justin Trudeau to account. Do you want to hear more updates like this one? Subscribe to this page as we continue to fight for you.